Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining the PMO squad here for our live event on Outsource and Optimize, the benefits of managed services for project delivery. Today, Jill will be walking through kind of what PMO as a service is and kind of the benefits of it. And so I'm excited for you all to hear that today. And if you have questions throughout, please feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A, and we will get to those towards the end, or if it makes sense to address them right away, we're happy to do so. There are some kind of audience participation along the way, so please, I guess, find the chat now so that when that comes, you're ready to participate. But over to you, Joe, to get us started.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, so what is PMO as a service? What is outsourcing and managed services? And I think by now most people are familiar with this. But our definition of this that we've put together, right, is it's a partnership. It's not outsourcing. A lot of people think we're going to outsource the work. And it can't work that way unless a partnership is formed during that outsourcing, right? Project management is an intimate function within an organization, and it can't just be thrown over the wall to somebody that doesn't understand the culture and needs of your business. So for us, PMO as a service or a managed service is a partnership where your PMO and or project services are being handled by an outside firm. Meeting the needs of the client, right? Because each client is unique and the different types of services they would need would be unique. So for us to kind of level set from a perspective for all of us, that's where we start from. That's what managed service means for us and PMO as a service. So why do it, right? If there's not benefits, why are we going to do this? Primarily, benefits are similar to what you would get in software as a service, infrastructure as a service, all sorts of other different as a service models that exist today. One, scalability. When you have a team, it's the team. That's the size of it. You can scale up or down if you bring in maybe a contracted resource, or if you let people go, or if you try to hire them. But by doing a managed service provider, you have a project portfolio, and it's up to your partner to be able to scale up and down, allowing you to have much more capability or scalability. Capability, again, within your team, what experience do you have? What skill sets are available? How does that team capability compare to what your portfolio needs? And with a managed service provider, you rely on them to be able to carry the capability so that you don't have to do that. You're not limited just by your team. Affordability, obviously, one of the main factors that organizations think about is what's the cost of this? How are we going to actually save money and generate value for our company by outsourcing with a partner to be able to deliver projects for us? And then the other one is availability. For me, this is a big one, right? When you need somebody to run a project, are they there? How long does it take you to recruit a new resource to be able to be available to run that project? What is the lost cost of not being able to initiate a project, right? Each project should carry a business benefit. And if you're not able to get that project started timely, then you miss out on those benefits being realized as quickly as possible. So these are the four main benefits. Of course, there's others, and we'll dig in a little bit more detail on these as we keep moving through it. So a question for all of you. Does your organization use any type of managed services? In the chat, go in and type not yes or no, but type in what type of managed service that your organization's using today. At minimum, I know you're all using software as a service because you're on Zoom, and Zoom provides software in a as a service model for all of the organizations that you're a part of to be able to go use it. So what other do you have? Michelle's got MSSP. I'm not sure what MSSP is, the SS there. What are some others that folks are? Oh, security. Thank you. Yeah, Office 365. Great example. I remember working back in the day, the gray hair on my beard will show that we didn't have email when I first started. It didn't exist. We had to send inter-office memos through the mailroom to be able to communicate with other departments. And today, take it for granted. Cleaning service, yeah, outsource it, right? As you can see, a lot of organizations, really all organizations today, are using managed services of some kind. So what does that look like, right? Organization, this has just become natural. It's just the way businesses do work, and industries have been created from the as a service model, right? Global software as a service. 273 billion last year, this year projected to hit 317 billion. Payroll, right? PMO squad, we don't do our own payroll, we outsource that. Most companies around the world are doing that. That's a $77 billion industry this year. Infrastructure, right now you think about data centers, right? And organizations outsourcing that function to a data center as opposed to keeping that on premises with them. 157 billion this year. Platform as a service, 75. These are billion-dollar industries attached to service models. So when you think back, 10 years, a decade ago, that wasn't the case. But quickly, organizations understood the scalability, the affordability, the capability that presented to their organization. And it was a good business decision to be able to move forward into an as-a-service mindset. The project management space, obviously, it isn't as popular yet. This is something that's new, starting to catch on. And what we're trying to do is, again, raise awareness for everybody so they can see the availability of this and what it might look like. But as a global marketplace, as a service has already been accepted. So the concepts are already known with the decision makers within organizations. It's a matter of how in the project space do we approach those decision makers and talk to them about the benefits that we can provide so that it makes a sound fiscal decision for them and secure decision to be able to outsource project management to a partner, just like they've done software, infrastructure, payroll, etc. Makes sense? So what does this look like? Real world example. One of the things we notice, right, is government typically does stuff first, and then private sector, corporate world follows suit. So here in the States, this is a real world example of an RFP that went out in June of this year. PMO Squad has submitted to this proposal. The proposals have closed, so don't worry, any vendors who may be online, you can't scramble and go try to submit for this. But Gwinnett County, Georgia is in the suburbs of Atlanta, and they submitted an RFP out to the public for organizations to be able to respond. And you can see where they say up here on the top box, the selected service provider is expected to manage all aspects of project management, service delivery, and portfolio support for selected projects, including recruitment, onboarding, training, and performance of highly skilled and experienced project management resources. They're looking for a partner to be able to come in and take care of those functions because they find it will be a better business decision for them as opposed to doing that internally. Right? The bottom box down below when they talk about the current environment. Their biggest challenges for their PMO is the inefficiency with recruitment and sourcing of qualified professional project management resources to manage their initiatives. To address that need, they're looking for a partner to come in and do that. Right? And coming up in a couple of slides, we're going to talk about what is the cost of recruitment? What is the cost of an open position within your organization, and how is that impacting your organization? So Real world example. Today, this is current, right? It's within the past month. There were, I think, 40 or so vendors who responded to this RFP to submit their services. Most of them were local staffing firms who really don't have access to the talent like an organization such as the PMO Squad has. But there were a couple of the big boys, right? I think Deloitte may have been one of the vendors who submitted to this. So the larger consulting firms of the world, the mid-tier, such as the PMO Squad, and then even localized small staffing firms are applying to these. It's become popular within some government agencies, and now, of course, we're bringing it to the corporate world as well for private sector organizations. Make sense to everyone so far? Ooh, is it not going? There we go. So scalability, we talked about that, right? When you're thinking about benefits of PMO as a service and you have your headcount, oftentimes we're worried about, are we going to get enough heads and are we going to lose heads if the economy goes south? Currently, the economy is a little rocky here in the States, and there's been a hold, right, a freeze on hiring. Many organizations are just not going out to recruit people. There was new numbers came out today, revised numbers in July. The amount of open positions being filled is the lowest level in the past few years. But I've never been in a PMO or an organization where they said, we're going to shrink the portfolio of work as well, right? The amount of work continues to increase, but our PM headcount is static. It's not increasing. So that gap between demand and supply is lost value generation that we PMO leaders could be providing to the organization. One way to be able to overcome that is to have a PMO that's scalable. Remove the static line that restricts the amount of headcount you have in the organization and allow your scalability to be in line with your demand. By having portfolio demand and headcount working together, you're able to meet the needs of the organization and you don't have to deal with the restrictions of your internal headcount. And that's up and down, right? If you get to the point where you have a portfolio that maybe is shrinking, you're not going to let people go. You have to find work for those folks to do on your team. But in this situation, you're able to scale down, right? Bill's coming here. The cost of delay to the organization nudges them to as a service model. It's exactly correct. There's no need to delay the output and benefits of projects because we don't have PMs to drive them. And going out, listen, the PMO Squad has plenty of contracted project managers working around the US right now. But that's more expensive because it's a one resource or a two resource hit to the organization. There's value in volume, right? The more that you can bring on, the lower the cost per resource to do that. So absolutely, Bill, there's a cost of delay, and that is lost value generation. Our job as PMO leaders is to generate value for the organization through project delivery. And we're missing that mark if we don't go to our leadership team and propose an opportunity to be able to keep demand and supply in line. That's scalability. Capability, right? From the PMO research report, we've done webinars on this earlier this year. One of the sources of data out there is that PMOs are already at 77% clip, already using temporary or contracted project management resources, right? So the concept of using a partner to augment your staff, it's already there. People are already doing it. Organizations are doing it. There should be a level of comfort. And usually what we find is when there's a specific need. It's a SAP project that we've never run before. So can you get us somebody with SAP and they take care of that? Well, it takes time to be able to go find that resource. Again, it's a one-off resource, so it's at a higher cost model. It takes time for all of that to happen. In an as a service model, the benefit of that is you have a portfolio and it's up to your partner to ensure that they have a team to be able to support the needs of your portfolio. So you don't have the cost, the delay, and all of those items that you might have on your own team, right? So the key point of this is not only are you getting people, but you're getting capability, the experience, the skills necessary for your team to be able to go execute. So a scalability, we can get more people and we can flex up and down. Capability, I don't have to go find the talent. The talent already exists on the partner's team, and we're able to utilize their capability. So we get scalability and capability. Everyone says, but it costs too much. We can't afford this. That's the mindset, right? But the market's changed. It isn't the way it used to be. There's models in place now that allow us to do PMO as a service where we get the PM cost lower than what it would be to have an internal project management cost. And again, that gap that you're missing out on becomes lost value generation. So in two instances, from an affordability perspective and a scalability perspective, we as PMO leaders are losing out on generating value for our organization by not offering up PMO as a service as an alternative to how we deliver projects, right? There's the question. Man, we've outsourced one or two project managers and the rates were so high, there's no way we can afford 10 people at that same rate. But we have to think about what is the cost of your internal team members for training, for recruiting, for retention, for their equipment, for their office space. Volume discounts come into play on our side where we can reduce those rates to be more affordable. It's the same as buying space on a rack in a data center. If you go buy the server yourself, the rack, and we go put them up, you're paying the electric, you're paying for the servers, you're paying for the maintenance, you're paying for all those things. The reason organizations outsource to a data center is in volume, the data center can provide the same service at a more affordable cost. And it's the same thing we can do with project delivery as well. Availability. This one, a lot of people don't capture originally, right? Out on the PMO Squad website, you can see the link there. We have a cost calculator that allows you to input your own data and be able to calculate what is the cost of having a project management position open. And the example I have listed in here, right? They're looking for a senior PM. That salary on that person would be $125,000. There's a couple other criteria below what you can see on the screenshot I grabbed. But this position's been open for 6 months. And right now, from what we talk about with different vendor or clients we work with, it's not unusual for a position to be open for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months as they're looking to find it. And there's an opportunity cost to the organization for not being able to fill that position. In this example, $766 a day. And for 6 months, what's costing this company? Almost $138,000 to not have that position filled. So as you put in your own criteria out on that website, and you start to see, man, for my organization, what's the cost of not filling these? You can think about scalability up and down. Think about capability. What's the skill set? What's the experience we need, right? Think about the affordability. If we can actually do this cheaper than if I were to hire these folks on our own team and they're available immediately. There's no delay. There's no opportunity cost that's lost onto the organization that they have to absorb, and they can start capturing benefits real time. So those 4 benefits come into play immediately for you to be able to understand and realize the benefits of the as a service model in the project management space, just like you are with software, infrastructure, platform, payroll, cleaning, security, all of the different as a service models that are out there today. Does that make sense for everybody? So, quick presentation about PMO as a service. the benefits that you get from that. And what I wanted to do now, of course, open up for questions that anybody would have about this. We can explain those questions, or if you're doing something similar today, it'd be great to hear your experiences. Just drop into the chat. What are any questions that folks have that we can answer about PMO as a service? Don't be bashful.
We've got a question here. What is the average cost savings by outsourcing versus in-house FTE? Probably hard to give a generic answer there, but maybe some context there.
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's hard to be able to answer that, Michelle, because we don't know how many project managers, we don't know the portfolio, we don't know the skill set that you'd need. One way to look at this, most organizations attach about a 30% overhead burden cost onto the cost of an employee. So if someone's making $100,000 a year, to make the math simple, right, that person's really about $130,000 a year in actual cost to the organization. What we didn't factor in there is what's the availability cost to them, what's the scalability, what's the capability. But that 30% number on top of that, what we do is we come in below that salary plus 30% and then factor in the amount of the volume, skill set, portfolio capability, those other factors on top of that. So hard to be able to answer that directly, but that maybe gives you a little bit of an understanding of how we come up with our formulas. Great question.
What type of organizations leverage this type of service? Also, in it, probably a generic question, but
yeah, I mean, every kind, right? I mean, if you, this is the beauty about the industry we're all in, right? Every company in the world runs projects. There isn't a company that doesn't have projects. They're all there. Every company could outsource this to be able to do this as a service model. The larger the company, the more benefit you get from it because of the amount of scaling that's necessary. How do you align skill sets to clients for domain knowledge? Yeah, that's working with you as a partner, right? This is why we think it's a partner and not just an outsourced relationship. To understand, understand your portfolio and the type of projects that you need within that space. Domain knowledge based on industry, based on company. This is something we hear all the time, right? We're a healthcare provider. You need to have domain expertise. In some instances, absolutely correct. But what we find in the great majority of time is the domain expertise that we bring is the project management domain expertise. Your subject matter experts and your business analysts and others are going to carry that domain expertise. So we don't have to be experts in what you do, right? We had a semiconductor company. They didn't have any project managers. All their engineers were running their projects. We brought in some project managers to work on those and never worked in the semiconductor industry previously. And within 2 years, they were able to turn around their portfolio, deliver the way they needed to, and the owners of that organization were able to then sell their company. So we're not believers that it's an absolute must-have to have industry domain expertise. We're coming with the expertise of project management, and that's why people would outsource to a PM firm.
have you had any experience using this model for clients in regulated industries, mentioning aerospace, defense, medical device?
Yes, regulated industries. This is, I think, Tariq, this goes back similar to the way I responded to that last question. The challenges are making sure that you understand the regulations or regulatory requirements, right? It may not be understanding the terminology and that, I think, again, the SMEs get you over that hump, but you certainly want to make sure that you understand what are those requirements, right? Are there any import rules and regulations in place? Are there any other government regulations? Are there municipality, local regulations and all of those in place? And again, in those instances, if necessary, we try to make sure that we have local resources who understand those capabilities, or industry resources if necessary.
Another question about, I guess, are these project managers remote 100%, or do you do on-site capabilities? And then I just follow-up question to that is, do they use our tools, or do they come with a set of tools for both the PM work and portfolio management tools and reporting? Great questions.
Yeah, great question. So either or, they can be remote or they can be on-site. Typically, we prefer the remote model because it allows us to better serve customers with that unique talent, with that capability component. So maybe a hybrid situation where some can be on-site and some can be remote. But having the right skills and domain expertise available all within a local market is a harder challenge. The reason you partner with a national firm is we can find that talent across the United States and be able to use them. From a tools perspective, just like in the data center, if you buy that server and the server has software on it, your company licenses the server software, right? It's not the data center that's licensing that. So you would still want to license that software because it's your license. But we would utilize that. So we don't come with that, but our equipment, right? We're using our laptops and that type of thing. So you have a reduced cost on that. So good questions there.
Deborah asked if we will be sending the presentation out. Yes, the presentation as well as today's recording will be sent out to everybody. And no worries, Michelle. I will personally follow up with you after this. She's got to jump. What is your process to estimate the needed resources for running projects or future unknown projects? Another good question.
Yeah, great question, Ashok. Again, as a partner, what we do is we stay plugged in. It's not just people running projects. We work with your team to understand what needs are coming on the horizon. So as there are forecasts in place for the portfolio and what work would be upcoming, we make sure we have those resources aligned and available. Obviously, if someone says, tomorrow we're starting a project that nobody knew about and here's the need, it may take us a day or two to be able to get the people on board with that. But by being a partner and working with your portfolio in advance to be able to forecast those needs, we can get to those as the need arises.
Yeah, all good questions. And as we're coming up on time, I guess we'll just do a quick introduction. Obviously, you've heard about PMO as a service, as one of the services that the PMO Squad offers. You can see on your screen, obviously, the assortment of others related to project management and PMO consulting, project management technology, and of course, our last one there of education, and some of our accolades. We're excited to be featured on the Inc. 5000 this year. A big achievement for the company, and exciting growth happening here at the PMO Squad. Excited to be a part of it. If you do have any questions, I guess following today's live event, feel free to, I guess, scan that QR code, or feel free to visit the PMO Squad's website and let us know if you'd like to chat. Otherwise, I think with 1 minute to spare. Oh,
two questions that are kind of related, Ashok and Victor. Do we use talent from overseas? Not currently. Right now, these are all US-based project management resources on our team. We're not opposed to international, Gunter, as far as active in Germany. We do have relationships around the globe that we could leverage for this. We just haven't taken this global yet. We've been primarily working within the States. But if an opportunity came up in Germany or another country where we could do a pilot program, I think we'd gladly be open to try that out.
and it sounds like Bill wants to connect with you, Joe, on a couple of opportunities. So that's wonderful. Bill, we'll have Joe follow up personally with you on that. But thank you everybody for your time today. I appreciate everybody joining today. And as I mentioned earlier, the slides as well as the recording of today's event will be in your inbox later today. And we look forward to seeing you on the next live event with us. Again, thank you everybody. And thank you again to the familiar faces from previous webinars for joining us again. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.